Ash's Bakery in Northern Ireland was penalised for refusing to bake a cake for a customer who asked for one with a political slogan on in support of gay marriage in Northern Ireland, which is yet to be legalised there. Their case went to through the Equalities Commission and so on.
Went through the courts.
Went through the courts, and they were fined for doing that. They said no. As Christians, we should be able to refuse certain types of messages on our cakes. They weren't. They said that it wasn't because the person in question was gay. It was happy to serve gay customers. It was the specific message they felt they couldn't, in good conscience, bake this.
Well,
particular
can
cake.
I intervene here? Because this is very important.
I just want to say this is where there's been a key touch point of does secularism favour a certain ideology, or does it protect the freedoms of the Christians?
Before Andrew answers the question, let's get away from the cake.
Right.
It was a cake, but the crucial thing you have to understand in this matter is that the cake was a publication.
Okay.
It was what was written on the cake. It wasn't just the colour of the decoration.
And they
it was
were
what it
offering
said.
themselves
The
as
cake was a
publishers.
publication. If this had been a book, a pamphlet, or a newspaper, and they had been told you will be punished for not publishing something with which you disagree, then the issue would be absolutely blazingly clear. Because it's a cake, people don't notice the outrageously totalitarian nature. You must publish this, whether you like it or not.
Do you
it's
think
not a rule
secularism
in a free society?
Printing firm than a publishing firm, I think.
Well,
but
do you think secularism came to the rescue here because it supported the rights of the person who wanted to have that message baked on that cake?
Secularism didn't do anything in this. I repeat again, the UK is not a secular state, so one can hardly use its judgments as exemplars of secularism.
The judges have said frequently in cases of this matter that that they're not guided by Christian principle anymore.
Well,
it's a secular state de facto,
so the law
not
has
yet
a secular
de jure,
ethos,
but that will come.
Right. Well, I hope so. Okay.
The equality
I'll let you come back on this, Peter. Let's see what Andrew has to say.
The interesting thing about this discussion, and again, it's something I discuss in the book with the place of conscience in a secular law. Which is important because, as I say, secularism should maximise the freedom of those bakers to the fullest extent that it can, compatible with the rights and freedoms of others. I believe that. Secularists disagreed about this case very prominently.
Even Peter Tatchell supported the bakers.
Even Peter is a strong defender of
free speech.
Liberty,
yes, so shouldn't say even.
No,
Peter Tatchell is an example of one secularist who came down on the side of, as it were, the bakers, and said, let's be reasonable. Let's look at it this way. Other bakers are available. Other in the same way that other printers would be available. Other secularists came down on the other side and said, the principle is that gay people shouldn't be refused a service by people who offer their services to the marketplace. Now, I think actually that this isn't an example of a secularism versus anti-secularism discussion. I think that secularists could argue it both ways.
Okay, so it's just an area where there's a grey sort of area, and we need to...
What a secularist will want to do will be, as I said, to try and maximise everyone's freedom of conscience, freedom of religion, freedom of belief, to the extent that it is compatible with the rights and freedoms of others. I think in that case, that principle was arguable.
But where people can be forced to publish things with which they disagree, there is no freedom.
Well, printing firms do that as
well. They may do it, but they can't be forced to do it.
Freedom.
I don't think any court would ever accept it. It was
I think
the
we
very
all agree with regulating
nature
markets.
Of this case that it was, and the other thing is,
if you bring a service to the market,
the character of the complainant is one thing. The character of the bakers, who were the targets of the complaint, it seems to me to be an important thing. They were an overtly Christian company.
And Peter, do you? I mean, why then do you think the judge came down in favour of the person who wanted the cake to be baked and against the?
Personally, I think the judge made a mistake in law, and I personally think the case must have been inadequately argued by those who made the case. I can't understand how any judge in this jurisdiction could say that it was right for somebody to be forced to publish an opinion with which they disagreed. But I think the cake issue has always mixed it up and has somehow or other meant that people can't see the wood for the trees. It's not about a cake.
This is Premier Christian Radio.
Where faith comes to life.